The loss of Yu-Gi-Oh's artistic essence. I wasn't really going to make a part two, but I honestly wasn't expecting the video to have so many people engage with it in general. And there were a lot of good points, a lot of not so good points that were made. I figured I would just address them and reiterate a few things that I said and clarify other things that I've said. I don't feel like I did the best job in that video. I think I did a good job of starting a conversation that obviously a lot of people were interested in having because, I mean, it's got a shit ton of comments, a shit ton of likes, dislikes, and engagement with the video in general. So it shows that it's something that people are willing to discuss and they want to talk about. Pretty split opinions. Like some people are. So basically, if you haven't watched part one, you should go watch part one. Otherwise, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. But essentially, I made a video about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, essentially explaining that I missed the original dual monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? I missed that particular art style. I missed that vibe. I missed the essence of the game. I missed the dual monster-esque vibe of the game in general. Versus now, I said it's basically a waifu battle simulator, right? Is that completely fair? Probably not. Is every deck now a waifu deck? Probably not. But I said even on that video, man, that I know that not every deck falls in this category, which is a point that kept coming up over and over again, where I just said that every deck is waifus and lollies. I didn't say that. I said that a lot of them are, and I know that not every deck falls in that category, but dude, every deck has one lolly in there, one waifu in there. There's entire archetypes dedicated to waifus, entire archetypes of just lollies, entire archetypes that are just like birds and cute animals and things like that. The game is like it either leans to sexual or cute a lot of the time, right? Which you can be a fan of. It's fine. All that I was saying is I don't think it's the best look for the game. And then people started bringing up all these examples of like, look at this deck, look at bestials, look at this deck or that deck. And I said not every deck falls in that category. It's just that a huge, not even necessarily the majority, just too many of them do, right? And then people started pulling out of their ass like all these examples from like the original Yu-Gi-Oh show. I think the best one, there's two that are the best examples where people were like, oh, the original Yu-Gi-Oh had waifus too, right? So the best two examples are the Nyan Cat card and then Dark Magician Girl, which I did address in the video too. My thing with those, and there's some other waifu cards that they added in there. A lot of people that I addressed, like the Harpy Lady, saying that they're waifus. To me, they're not. They're mean looking and they're monsters. They're in the same vein in art style. Like if you compare the art style of the Harpy Ladies to Dark Magician, one is very clearly a waifu, the other one isn't. Okay, and they're both from the original game. Okay, so I think that's a little disingenuous. A lot of like Mystic Elf. I don't think Mystic, like if you find her cute, great, maybe she is, but I don't think she fits under a waifu. She's pretty clearly an elf avatar looking thing. She has that same art style looking kind of vibe that fits with the aesthetic of the game. And my criticism wasn't just that, it was more like the aesthetic and the art style in general. And then a lot of people started, coming up with, again, examples of decks that aren't waifus and lollies. That's fine, but the overall critique wasn't just that all decks are. That's one critique. The other critique is that the art just looks like generic anime art. It just looks, again, compare these two art styles. None of them are waifus, none of them are lollies, but look at the difference in art. Yu-Gi-Oh had a very specific art style, and that's more what I was talking about when I was saying that I don't like the new art style in particular. Now, the issue of waifus and lollies that I was just talking about now, that's a completely separate issue. But again, going back to this point, not to deviate too much here. So a lot of these examples that people brought up from the original Yu-Gi-Oh, there's this one lolly or this one cute monster or this one or two waifus here and there. Man, my point isn't that there weren't none of those in the original Duel Monsters game. My point is like there was one. There was two of that. There was a handful. They didn't completely dominate the game. Like Dark Magician Girl, she's pretty one of a kind. Like name another card that looks like Dark Magician from the Duel Monsters era. Like the Dark Magician Girl, I'm sorry. Look at another card that looks, tell me another card that looks like Dark Magician Girl that is similar vibe looking to her of that era. I can only think of Nyan Cat, and not that similar, you know what I mean? But maybe. Now, if you were to put the Dark Magician Girl in today's game, she would just be generic and look like every other waifu in the game. You know, at that time it was unique because it was just her, you know? And even if there were others that you would consider that fall under that category, like this is so stupid. But if you can have other cards you considered that would be waifus, they don't look like her. Like, you know what I mean? Like most of the waifus and cards that are fall in that category now are super generic. She wasn't generic because most cards didn't look like her. There were not that many cards that look like the Dark Magician Girl in the Dual Monsters era. There just isn't. Are there other waifus? Sure, I guess you can consider some of the other ones, but they don't really look like her. If you put her in current Yu-Gi-Oh, she just looks generic like the rest of them. She was unique at that time. That was my point. My point is that now you have entire archetypes that are just waifus. You have entire archetypes that are just lollies. You have entire archetypes that are just cute animals. And it's not one or another, it's a ton of them. And like I said, and the thing too is like the original art wasn't perfect either. There were, and I didn't say on this other video, but I mean, it's true. You can find examples here and there of cars that didn't fit the aesthetic at that time either. And that's true. There's probably cars that were weird or that were odd or just didn't fit the vibe of the game at that time either. But there's such few, you have to really look for examples. Versus now, it's super easy to find examples of things that just don't make sense with the game and are generic and are overused, and you see a bunch of. That was more my point. It's not that, oh, find me one example of this type of card that has this aesthetic or that is this type of looking or, has a female that could be considered a waifu on. That wasn't my point with the video. My point is like the game got overrun by those things. And then people are like coming out of the woodwork, giving me examples. Like, I don't play the fucking game, dude. Like, I don't know what archetypes are out there. Like, I play the game, man. I've been playing it for over 20 years. I'm still on Master Duel. Like, at least once or twice a week, I'm there, I'm on Dueling Book, like, almost every day. I know what the new archetypes are. I know what people are playing. Like, you don't have to tell me. I know. That's not the point of the video. My point is that it just looks like generic anime art. So what I'll do now is I will go and address some of the top comments on the video because I don't remember every single point that was made. Like, and if I didn't respond to you, I'm sorry. I tried my best to respond to everyone. First thing I will say, like, the comment section was pretty split on between like people that agree with me that they missed the old art style and people that disagree. Like, they're in between, maybe they kind of agree, they kind of don't agree with some of my points, or they completely disagree. But the vast majority of people were very respectful. Like, the vast majority of people that disagreed, they were clearly interested in having the conversation. Even though they don't agree, they went ahead and left me a wall of text there explaining why, and not even necessarily looking for a debate, but just kind of explaining why they don't feel the way that I do. And like, I really appreciate that. That's like a normal human way to have a conversation, because there is a slight percentage of people that are fucking insane. I don't know how else to put it. There is a percentage of people, like, I mean, I know this is just being in the internet, but there's a slight percentage of people that you can tell they were just like, their blood pressure was like 160 over 120 while they're typing, their mouth is fuming, and they're just like getting so angry, man. Like, listen, it's not that serious. Like, you can disagree with me respectfully or disrespectfully, whatever. You can disagree with me and not have a seizure. Like, please, man, don't end up in the hospital just because I criticized your fucking favorite waifu. Like, I'm not coming for her. Don't worry. You can still have her. I'm just saying I miss the old art style. They'll have to lose your shit. Some people, man, it looked like you were having... Some people look like they're about to have a seizure as they're typing. But the vast majority of people were pretty darn normal. They're just like, I agree because of this, I disagree because of that, which is cool. I mean, people just wanted to have a conversation. Clearly, based on likes, dislikes, based on comments. I've read almost every single comment. I pretty much read every single comment. I didn't take the time to reply to every single comment because a lot of things I didn't copy paste any of my answers, but I felt like it because it was like the same points being addressed over and over. That's why I figured I'd do a part 2. Even if you still don't agree with me, it's totally fine, just so people don't feel like I haven't addressed their points and at least some of the top comments here. One thing that people said too, like, this didn't come up a lot, but I did see people saying like, oh, you say that the game should be inclusive for everyone, and then you're complaining that, the art style doesn't fit what you want. I'm like, man, like, I mean, you can take that out of context. You can spin that however you want. All I'm really saying is that I missed the original art style, and not everyone is into anime stuff, right? Not everyone is into the new art style. Not every single card style is waifus and lollies, but yeah, a lot of them do fall in that, man. And a lot of people are put off by that. They're turned off by it. If I'm already turned off by it, like if I'm put off and find it a little weird, and I am heavily in the anime culture, like you're talking to a guy like this entire channel, some people came to say that I don't like anime, like I'm just a boomer that doesn't like anime. Like, bro, like this is an anime channel. The fuck you talking about? Obviously, I like anime. Like, I'm part of that culture. I'm intimately involved with this culture to the point like I make content about it, right? And people are telling me I don't like anime. Like, if I am put off by these art styles and some of this artwork and some of these themes, imagine people that are like quote unquote normies. Imagine people that like are not involved in this scene, are just maybe trying to get involved in the trading card game scene. Imagine how put off they're gonna be by that if I'm already put off. Like, it doesn't mean you have to be put off by it. That's the other thing. Like, when I'm saying that, some people are like, oh, you're just saying that people that like furries and people that like this and that are weird, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm sorry, man. If the whole lolly thing, yeah, you know what? I'm not here to call anyone weird. I find that weird, all right? Like, I'm not saying you're weird if you like that. I'm not calling you anything. I'm just saying me looking at the whole lolly thing specifically, I find that fucking weird, okay? Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean like that I'm calling you names or something like that. Doesn't mean that you have to agree with me, but I personally feel uncomfortable with that. I don't like it. I find it weird. That's where I kind of, the only thing I really kind of draw the line. As far as like the furries and the waifus and the other like cute anime stuff, like, man, like, I wasn't saying that like I find that weird. I think you're weird if you like those things. God damn it, man. Again, this is an anime channel. Obviously, I don't find most of these things weird. Otherwise, I wouldn't have an anime channel, right? What I'm saying is I'm putting myself in the shoes and in the perspective of an outsider or like a parent that is not me, outside looking in. They would probably find that kind of weird is what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, you would let your son play with demons and spells and rituals and you wouldn't find that weird, but in the same breath you would judge him if he was playing, you know, a card game that had waifus and anime stuff. It's like, bro, obviously not, because I played the game. Like, why would I judge my son for playing the game I play? But I'm obviously not the point of focus of the discussion. Like, obviously I don't have a problem with it, but I'm involved in the community. I'm involved in Yu-Gi-Oh. Obviously I'm not going to have a problem with it. But if I was a parent or a teenager or outsider or someone looking in to get into the game and I wasn't already involved in this scene, then I might be like, this is a little weird, you know, from an outsider perspective. That would be my thought, right? I am, however, not an outsider. I have an insider perspective. I have a bias. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of people who don't have that same bias. I thought that was pretty obvious from the way I described it. Maybe I just didn't do a good job of explaining that, but hopefully that clarifies it. Let's see. So first comment here that I see with a lot of upvotes. I love the fact that every archetype has its own art style. I don't feel like every archetype has its own art style. I feel like every archetype has its own archetype and lore, has its own theme. That is one of my main criticisms for the art in general, is that the art looks generic. Yes, some archetypes are birds, some archetypes are mechs, some archetypes are waifus, some archetypes are plants, some archetypes are fish, some archetypes are demons. Yes, they are different. That doesn't mean that the art style is different. That doesn't mean that the art style is unique. That's my point, is that it looks generic. Even the things that don't fall under the waifu battle simulator category that I was talking about, they still look generic to me. And that's subjective, man. You don't have to agree. But to me, the art of the entire thing looks generic. So the fact that, you know, this person loves that every archetype has its own art style, like, I can appreciate that. I think what they mean, and I hope I'm not misconstruing what they're saying, maybe I am, is that what they're saying is that they love that there's different themes, that every deck has its own vibe, that every deck has its own archetype, its own lore, that every deck has a different theme. Like, it's cool. He enjoys that there's mechs and demons and there's a little bit of for everyone in there. I don't think that the art style is that different between, it all looks like generic anime crap. I'm sorry. Even if some of them are demons, even if some are waifus, even if some are lollies, even if some are plants, yada yada, it just looks generic to me. That's more my point. I probably just didn't express well or made that point very well. I'm the entire video, man. Like, it's cool that it started a discussion. I don't think I did the best job on that video. Like, another thing a lot of people said is I didn't do a good job highlighting the good things about the current game and the current art. I mean, because that wasn't the point of the video. That's why I didn't. The point of the video was to criticize the things I don't like. I didn't make a video where I set out to say, okay, these are all the good things that I like about current Yu-Gi-Oh! And the art, and these are all the things that I don't like. Maybe I should have, but that wasn't the video that I made. Like, if you didn't like it, that's maybe not the video for you. But some people brought that up, so I'll address it. I mean, the one thing I will say about the current art style that is good, that a lot of people brought up, it's the lore. Yes, they try to put the lore behind every archetype that they have, and a lot of times they nail it, and it's pretty neat, the lore that they put behind it. I just don't think that most of the times the way they choose to represent the lore is weird, and that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, oh, Labyrinth has good lore, yes it does, but why do they have to be waifus? They could just be like anything else. Yes, trap tricks have good lore, but why do they have to be lollies? Like, you don't have to defend one thing. Like, you can criticize one thing while also saying it's good on the same breath for other things. Like, the lore can be good, but the choice of theme and the choice of art can be not so great. That's kind of what I'm saying with those. What else? I'm not going to talk again. I wasn't talking about mechanics. I don't really like the current Yu-Gi-Oh game. I play it. I'm not a fan of it. I play Edison and Goat a lot more. What else is good about the current art? I mean, even though I find it generic, it is pretty. Like, aesthetically looking, the game is pretty. It's not really badass. It's not really unique. It doesn't really give me the same vibe and dark and, it doesn't have the same theme that I used to think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was cool and unique for. It doesn't have any of that, but it's pretty to look at. I mean, I'll give you that. It's not shitty drawings. It's just generic. And that's about it that I have to really say about it. As far as the art goes, that's kind of it. I mean, those are the points that most people brought up. Great, I've addressed them. You're not wrong. I just didn't bring it up. Maybe I should have. You have to see it through the Japanese viewpoint. So this is a good point, and I'll just summarize it real quick. Not just his point, but just this idea in general. A lot of people were saying that it wasn't just, I said on my previous video that a lot of cards and, the theme of the game changed to appeal to parents, to pander to religious people, and to try to, appeal to a more general public. The theme of the game was too dark, and it was putting off a lot of people. I do think that was a huge factor behind it. But I do understand what people are also saying. Like, the art isn't appealing just to them. I think at that time, like when GX came out, it was a little. They're saying that it's to appeal to Japanese people, and that the whole waifu and anime thing and lollies and furries, that's very big in Japan, and that's where the game is from, and it's very popular there. So they're trying to appeal to the local public. Totally fine. I'm happy to add that on there as like a most likely, probably that's what they're trying to appeal. Doesn't change my critique. Doesn't mean that I still... I mean, listen, I look at Shadowverse. There's certain decks that I look at Shadowverse and I look at Yu-Gi-Oh! And I can't tell the difference between the two games as far as art style. Like, it just looks generic, right? That's my criticism. Yes, are they trying to appeal to the Japanese people now? Yes. At the GX time, I don't think that was the goal. I think that what I said, there was a lot of truth in that they were trying to... kind of appeal to the masses a little bit, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Came like as too dark of a game for something that was going to be played mostly by children and had a cartoon behind it. So they tried to dial it back a little and go from that occult dark thing back to dual monsters into like heroes and villains. That more teenager kiddie kind of vibe, even though it was cool. And I do understand some people bringing up the anime. Oh, the anime gets dark. Oh, the anime has demons too. I get it, man. It's just like it clearly dialed it back a little bit. It took it down a notch. Like, I'm just saying, it definitely took it down a notch. Now, the current one, it's definitely appealing to the Japanese people and some of the new people that enjoy the anime stuff. Like, totally. Like, that, I agree with that. That could have just been like a second thing I could have added there. I just didn't think of that, honestly. It's a good point. Let's see, the GX thing, I've already addressed it. Interesting, I have a completely different idea than you do. The fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is flexible enough to have so much unique archetypes based on their own rhythm or flow says a lot. No longer is it a magic ripoff. I never felt like Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a magic ripoff. Like, I'm not going to say that that's insulting, but I don't feel like that's the case at all. But, alright. With a high demonic undertone, now you can play with mermaid fusion girls, right, which is part of what I think is generic and stupid. Mecha that force you to do math. That's what I play as. I play math mechs. A traveler of worlds trying to piece himself together, evil twins. But this is my problem. Like this sentence right here. You can play as all these different things. That's great, but that's what I'm saying, that the game lost its theme. Now, because you can play as all these things, the game doesn't have a theme anymore. It doesn't have its soul, its essence. It lost its vibe, and now it's kind of a clusterfuck and a blender of whatever the hell, you know? Every archetype like exists within its own archetype. Like nothing that's going on is coherent. And it's what I was saying, like you look at a Purelli and you look at like a math mech, like Joe Math Mech, like a huge mech, like who you think would win in a fight? It doesn't even seem like they're part of the same game. Like that might seem stupid, but aesthetically it looks weird. It just doesn't look like they fit in the same game. That's what I'm saying. I can appreciate that there's a little bit of everything for everyone. That's fine in a sense, but in another sense, that's what I'm saying. The game is a little incoherent. It has too many themes blended together to where it's just a little bit weird and doesn't make sense anymore. That's what I was saying. There's no other notable card game with this flexibility. Yeah, because most of them have a very coherent theme. Look at Flesh and Blood. It's great. You know, you play with one type of deck, all your cards look like they fit exactly in that deck. For the most part, it all fits a theme. Everything is coherent, and it makes sense to be in there. You're not going to find a lolly in the middle of a damn Katsu deck. You know, you're not going to find a fucking Purelli in the middle of a Warlock deck. You know, you're not going to find an Ash Blossom in the middle of like a Brute deck. It just, things make sense in Flesh and Blood. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's my criticism. That's fine if you like that. Like, that's great. Like this, like I'm saying, like most of these people, the vast majority, like 99, I'm not 99, but like 96 to 98% of people in these comments, I enjoyed reading what they had to say. I might not agree with everything, but it was a cool conversation. Like most people are normal. That's the thing. Even though we're on the internet, people like to make the internet seem like everybody's weird and degenerate and everybody's like just hating for no reason. I don't feel like that, and I've never felt like that. Maybe Reddit is like that sometimes, but I don't know. Even for a video like this that's super, I guess I didn't think it was polarizing, but I guess it's a super polarizing subject. People are normal. Like, this is a normal comment, perfectly respectable opinion. He likes the new art style. He likes that it's got the variety. I don't. I mean, it's fine. We just don't like the same shit. That's cool. No problem. Yes, a lot of anime-based cards. He agrees. He concedes that there is a lot of anime-themed cards, which is a big part of my point. Yu-Gi-Oh! Art itself is anime. No, man. There's a big difference between the card game and the anime. I'm putting up here. Look at Dark Magician. Look at Blue Eyes White Dragon. Look at a current card. Look at the current cards compared to the old cards. Like, you cannot say that these two are alike in any way. I'm sorry. They're different art styles, man, and that's what I'm saying. Yu-Gi-Oh's art style was unique. It wasn't generic anime stuff. Something you can easily classify as weeb over the previous, which through mental gymnastics passes as occult. No, there's no mental gymnastics about it. Like, they were clearly going for the more edgy, non-anime looking theme. They were going for, it looks a little more photorealistic. There are some cards that, in like Dark Magician girl, she feels off. Like, she feels like, if you look at this lineup, she feels off here. Like, I'll give it to you. Like, that's one card that they put it in there for the sake of the waifus, you know. Like, I'm not saying everything about the OG art was great. Like, there's stuff that doesn't fit well in there, for sure. It's just that there's not, most of it does. Now this here, that through mental gymnastics it passes as a cult. Nah, man, that's clearly what they were going for. They executed it flawlessly. It's, for the most part, it's pretty amazing art that does not only pass, but it embodies that in its entirety. The original art of the game is absolutely amazing. Still love the old school cards like Summon Skull, blah 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 blah. There's Black Dragon and the new ones. The designs are cool and badass. I agree with you. Yeah. Yeah, Summon Skull was the best waifu for show, man. That's a cool card. Summon Skull is just a classic. I hate waifu decks, but I think having diverse art styles can bring in more players. Plus, we do get some badass looking RSB to, like, again, like, the art style is not different. You do get some badass looking themes and cards, true. The art style to me still looks a little generic. It's not bad, it's just generic, but it's valid. I mean, we do still get some cool cards out there. We do still get a lot of cards. It's just that what I said to someone is like, yeah, man, over 12,000 cards, like, you're gonna start getting generic stuff after one point. And that's part of another argument, another problem. How about we stop printing cards for the sake of sales? Like, one thing is if we're innovating and printing out new cards for the sake of making the game better and innovating. The other thing is if we just want to sell and we're kind of running out of ideas and we just print whatever and it looks generic. That's another point entirely. But yeah, nothing will beat the old ancient Egyptian aesthetic. I agree. I don't think anything beats that. Even man, like, I'm into anime. I'm really into anime, and I still like the original art more. So imagine people who are not into anime. I love the old art style, but to be honest, diverse art style was already a thing in the GX era. I specifically said this on the video that the art started changing in the GX era, which is fine. Some people want to comment without watching the video. I was saying it's turned into the shittiest game of telephone ever, where people are just basing their opinions off of other people's comments. It's like, just watch the fucking video. You can disagree with me, but then watch the fucking video. While I heavily agree with you that old coherent art style is much more appealing to me, the simple reason that there are more waifu archetypes is that they sell. I don't know that they sell. The game lost a lot of players, at least in the West. I know it's super popular in Japan still. I don't know. I think they're actually losing players because of the new art. Waifu archetypes, whether you like it or not, that's what the current generation prefers, and that's what drives sales. I don't know that I agree with this. I have seen countless YouTubers, and this is just me basing it off of what other people are saying in the community and what I've seen at my local card shops, is that nobody is buying Yu-Gi-Oh, nobody's playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and card shops don't hold Yu-Gi-Oh products anymore because they don't sell. That has been the general consensus amongst, and that's just like, that's a non-point that I'm making right now, because it's going off of big YouTubers that I watch and going off of like my personal experience. So I don't even think it's the most valid opinion for me to disagree with this if I don't have data, right? If I don't do some vast research here to prove to you that Yu-Gi-Oh has been losing players over the years, which I'm pretty darn sure it has, but for the sake of argument, let's say that's not the case. Let's say that Yu-Gi-Oh is peak sales right now and they're having more sales than they ever were with the original art, which I highly doubt. And most people I've heard talking about this highly doubt, and card shop owners highly disagree because they're not holding the products anymore for the most part. For the sake of argument, sure. I mean, I was mostly talking about the art style itself. Whether or not it sells, that's a different conversation. Like, I don't own a card shop. I'm not heavily involved in the purchase and sale of the products to really give the most educated take on it. It's just like my general observation, which is not... it's not a good argument, right? It's not the strongest argument, so I'm not even going to try to make that argument. Yep. Yu-Gi-Oh needs more formats like Magic the Gathering has. I completely agree. I made a video kind of giving some ideas on a tiered format that I think would be cool. Also agree with loving the old style more. He agrees with me. Arguably, if you get copying, this seems... Okay, this is about the crypt. The crypt, everybody keeps talking about the crypt. I will make a video talking more about the crypt. It's not going to be this one. I'm going to bring my best friend who used to play with me, one of the people that used to play with me in that crypt, to kind of help talk about that story. I think it'd be cool to bring a childhood friend on the video to discuss that. My boy is not fluent. He speaks good English. He's just not fluent. So I think we're gonna do it over the weekend, and we'll do a video dedicated just to the crypt this weekend, most likely. Let's see. This gentleman, he's been here for a long time. He was here since some of my very first videos. We still get the old art style, just not the whole game. Because within the new gate guard and stuff, Carl goes to. Yeah, he's still saying that we still get some of the old stuff, which is true. And I kind of told him, yeah, I love when they revamp the old stuff. I think it's cool. But even the revamped stuff doesn't have that same art style, so it ends up looking a little bit generic, but still cool. For me, it's kind of a biased opinion that it looks cool because it's got that nostalgia factor, right? If I look at without the lens of nostalgia, I don't know how cool I really think the revamped stuff it is. I'm talking about like revamped Gaia, revamped Buster Blader, revamped like Black Luster Soldier, revamped Chaos Magician. I like it when they do that, but it's purely for the nostalgia. And the real reason why game is more waifu card in the game is because other card games in Japan have a lot of waifu. I know, but that's kind of what separated Yu-Gi-Oh from some of these other generic waifu card games. Just look at Card Fight Vanguard. Yes, just look at 100 other card games. Just look at Shadowverse. Like, do we really want Yu-Gi-Oh to turn into another generic Shadowverse game or another Vanguard generic game? Like, do you want it to be generic? I don't know. I mean, I get what he's saying. He's saying that, like, look, this is what sells. This is what's popular in Asia. That's why they're doing it. I don't disagree. I just don't like it. Which we both agree. We kind of reach an agreement. I mean, pretty quick. Neither of us is disagreeing with each other here. He's just saying, yeah, this is why they do it. There's a reason behind it. He's probably right. This video took the words out of my mouth. Cool. Somebody agrees with me. I like the mixed art styles. See, but you see, like this guy, he disagrees with me, right? But you know what? Like, man, like most of you guys are fucking cool. Most of you guys, and not all of you, some of you are just fucking weird. But the vast majority, and I mean weird, not because of, again, oh my god, I feel like I have to explain myself. I hate tiptoeing over everything I say. You're not weird because of what you like. Some of you are weird because you don't know how to interact like normal ass people. Some of you are like coming out the gate calling me like all kinds of names and dumb and all this different shit. Like there's just some people that are just straight up insulting me. But it's such few people that it's not even worth like entertaining. I did respond to even those comments. And by the way, man, like if you leave me a comment insulting me and then you make some sort of point that you want me to address or you want to have an argument about or you want to have a conversation about, like, dude, do you interact like this in real life with people? Like, do you insult the person with three to five different insults and call them an R word and all this crap and then expect them to have a normal conversation with you? Like a lot of people, they were rude to me, I was rude to them back, and they were like surprised. Oh shit, he was rude to me for no reason. Oh, you have a bad attitude. No, bro, like you come at me sideways, I'll come back at you the same way. Like if you talk to me like a normal person, I'll respond to you like a normal person. Like most of my responses to people that disagree with me are, we're just having a conversation. And that's what I was going to say. Most of you are cool, man. Like I saw a lot of the people that commented on my next videos were people that heavily disagreed with me. But most of them were normal. Like most of them were just people that were like, they were interested in the debate. They were interested in the conversation. They were having a good time, man. And that's the thing. Like there's some people that are like, this is a long ass video, man. Like this is like a 21 minute video. Dude, if you're like hate watching a 21-minute video, there's this guy, like I was forced to sit here and watch this shitty video about this dumb person giving this idiot take. Dude, nobody's like, that's the type of thing where I'm like, how much of a loser do you have to be to sit here for like 21 minutes just getting mad and disagreeing, and not even just disagreeing, but you think I'm dumb, you think everything that I'm saying is wrong, you think I'm a boomer, you think I'm a complete idiot, everything that I'm saying is pissing you off. Why are you still here? And then you bother writing me 10 paragraphs of text insulting me and wanting to start an argument, and you expect me to answer anything more than like hee xd. Like I'm not even going to entertain most of these conversations, dude. And if I do, I'm probably going to be rude to you back, right? But again, the vast majority of people are like this guy. Like vast majority of people are cool. They're normal. They have their opinion, and we had a good time. We had a good conversation. I enjoyed this a lot. Sadly, the dark vibe of the game already died because of yes. I don't even like to talk about this because I get sad. I liked him a lot. Kazuki was the man. There's no way to bring it back. The way at this point, I don't think we can bring it back. It's too far gone, which is part of my criticism. We kind of got to move forward, but I'm still allowed to say like the old stuff I just thought looked cooler. That ultimately, like that entire video could be summarized to the old stuff used to look cooler and have a cooler theme. That's it. You know, what do we do going forward? I don't know, man. I just don't think what we're doing now is the answer. It's cool that you played Yu-Gi-Oh! In a crypt. Yeah, the story of the crypt will come. I agree that the original anime was darker. I don't know. The whole crypt thing. I wanted to talk about that right now, but I'm not even going to address. The whole point is, if you haven't watched the original video, I said that I used to play in a crypt because we basically had to hide when we played the game, and if we got caught, we would get expelled. So we would find the weirdest places to play, and the crypt was like the main place we played because nobody would look for us there. Nobody assumed we even fucking knew it was there. I think a lot of the guards and people didn't even know that existed. Or like, what would you be doing in a fucking crypt? Like, I don't think, these places don't get regularly inspected, So we played in a crypt a lot. And there's a whole story. We played D&D there. We got drunk there. There's a lot of things we did in that crypt. There's a lot more to that whole story because it wasn't just about the crypt. The whole thing with the church that we played inside of the church, again, I went to Catholic school that was originally a church founded by Hungarian monks. I don't remember when, but back in the Stone Age, they founded this church. Not really, but you get it. And they founded a school around it. And the cool thing is if you go inside of this church, right around this, it's not a staircase, it's like two ramps that go upwards up into the church. If you go behind them, there's this door that for whatever dumb reason was always unlocked. And if you go down into that, I'm not going to say there were catacombs because it was a lot more modern than that, but there's and not even tunnels. There were these like tunnels / hallways that would go multiple directions. And they weren't really underground because the school was on a mountain. So they would cut through the mountain, through the church. And they led to all kinds of different places. Like that's a story in itself. But the one place I mentioned they led to where we would play a lot was the crypt. That's why the story of the crypt keeps coming up over and over. We played in a crypt a lot, which is where, if you don't know, that's where they buried dead priests. So we played around dead people a lot. The things we had to do to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope they make more Sword Soul cards. Yep, I played a lot of Sword Soul. They're cool. They're alright. That's one of the better archetypes that they've made recently. I think that the Harpy Lady archetype is a good example of the transition of the card game's artwork. I don't quite understand what this person means. Maybe I'm not educated enough or smart enough to quite understand what he means here. He's saying that this is kind of when the artwork started transitioning. I don't know. I can't agree or disagree because I thought I understood it at first. I liked it, and now I'm kind of like, I don't really quite get what he meant, but okay. Okay, so let me try to summarize this really quick because this person, let's just read the first thing here. This opinion, which is already shared by many players, is a bit odd. He's saying a lot of people agree with me, but he finds the opinion odd. First, to start my little block of text here. No kidding, that is a block of text, which is very fitting for Yu-Gi-Oh, my friend. That the wall of text is a Yu-Gi-Oh thing. We're all into it. We're all about it. Firstly, to start my little block text, the artwork of Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, rustic, but there's a lot of goofy-ass cards in there too. Yes, I've addressed that. I've said there are. Toon archetype. Toon, I don't think is a good example. Toon looks super evil. Toon looks like possessed toys. They look eerie. They look strange. They look unsettling. I don't think... Some people brought up the Toon cards. I don't think Toon cards are cute. I always thought that they were freaky, to be honest. I thought that they fit the aesthetic pretty well, and they were unique. The early form was inspired by Magic the Gathering art. I think it's very different, even if it's inspired. But after... the main thing I had about this opinion is that it portrays Yu-Gi-Oh! As this game that doesn't have badass cards anymore. Yeah, maybe that's kind of how I came off, for sure, but, I mean, it's not that it... To me, it's more that it's generic. It's not that the game doesn't have some examples or quite a few examples of cool looking cards. It's just that even the cool looking cards just look generic. The art looks generic. Saying that many of the decks you're going to face are not waifu decks. Yes, a lot of the decks are not waifu decks. I am definitely generalizing because there's a shit ton of them, but it's not all of them. Sure. Yugioh decks like Dragon Maid, Trap Tricks, which quite honestly you will rarely see. I see them all the time. I mean, and up until a few months ago, that's all I would see. What's with decks like Unchained? Like, yes, sure, there are other decks that don't fall in this exact category of their entire archetype of being waifus, sure. Decks like Fire Kings. Like, even Fire Kings. Didn't Fire King get a waifu in there too? I don't know, whatever. I'm done with this. Yeah, there are examples. Rescue Ace, sure, but do you see what all these things have here? Unchained is one type of deck, right? Picture it. Fire Kings is a totally different type of deck, and then Rescue Ace are like hydrants. So what do Demon Prisoners and Fire Kings and Hydrants have in common? Like, that's my point. You don't have to agree with me, but that's my point. Even though none of these three things are waifus, yes, you are right, in their entirety, none of them are like of a theme. None of them are like part of the occult theme, the Egyptian theme, or dark magic. They're like their own little weird random thing that doesn't make sense to be in the same game. That's kind of what I was saying. There's something for everyone. Sure, a lot of people made this point. Like, hey, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has something for everyone now. Sure. I think it looks generic. It's not for me. It has something for everyone, but apparently not for me, because I'm not a fan of most of it. Some of it is cool, but not a whole lot, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Like, to each their own, fine. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you can disagree, you can enjoy the game, that's fine. I'm just not the biggest fan of the current art, and you don't have to agree with me. Anyway, someone here just giving their take and their opinion. Nothing wrong with this opinion, nothing wrong with that. I think at one point he says he hates people that have this opinion. I'm not reading the whole thing again, but which I found a little weird. I told him, like, hey, my reply was something along the lines of, I gave him a reply addressing each of his points, and I'm like, there's nothing to really hate. We just have a disagreement of what we like, and that's kind of it. We just kind of don't agree on the arc preference, which, whatever. Nothing wrong with that. We can disagree. Spirit of Dust, Invasion of Flames, Giant Trinade, Final Cooldown had a scary art that I never could see again in actual art of Yu-Gi-Oh! I agree. You don't see art like that in the current game anymore because it's not the vibe of the game currently. It's just, it doesn't fit the generic anime art style that it has now. That's, whether you like that art style or not, we're not going to see it again because the art style has completely changed, which was the entire point of the video. I agree with a lot of what you said. That got me into anime. I didn't know. Okay. Yeah, my parents, somebody saying that the parents took away their cards too. Because some people went and said that, like, the whole parents taking away your cards thing never happened, and that a lot of people over dramatize that and make it seem like it happened a lot more than it did. Like, nah, dude, it happened to a lot of people. It happened to everyone I know, and a lot of people had that same experience around the world. It wasn't just like my super religious Catholic church school. Like, I had friends that were outside of my school too, that weren't Christian schools, and they had the same thing happen to them. Friends in North America, people in the comments, like, this happened to a lot of people. It didn't happen to everyone. It didn't happen to me, but it happened to a lot of people I know. Actually, most of the people I know. And that's why I played Branded Despia. Yeah, another deck that's Branded's pretty cool. Like, Branded is one of those decks that I will say they did a good job. Personally, the art changes are better. At least some archetypes now have story to tell, including, yeah, I mean, the lore is good. That's what everybody keeps bringing up. I agree. The lore is good. They just don't illustrate the lore the best way, in my opinion. But it had already began with Dark Magician Girl. Yeah, but that's one card. And there's one or another or another. Like, it's a handful. It's not entire archetypes. And the Harpy Ladies, totally disagree. Harpy Ladies don't fall in this category. Compare the art style and the look of Harpy Ladies and Dark Magician. There's a clear difference. One is obviously a waifu, the other one isn't. And it's definitely going to evolve into this. Sure. I totally agree with this. The OG series had some wicked looking monsters. Well, somebody that agrees with me. I'm not gonna just read everyone's that agrees with me. I mean, they basically saying they agree and giving their take, which is great. That's fine. But I don't need to read people, agreeing with me to you guys. Great points, man. It's someone who's thought about making the card game one day. So this is someone that was looking to make a card game. I made on the first channel of this, on the first video of this channel, I talked about this. I too tried to start a card game about 8 years ago, and I came up with everything. And just about when I was about to commission art for the game, I realized I was going to have to pay Wizards of the Coast a ton of money. If you look into this, you will see that it's very hard to create a card game. I don't know if Yu-Gi-Oh still pays. I know that at one point they had to, and they might still pay Wizards of the Coast, almost like for the rights of being able to use card games that have life points, attack points, defense points, health, and whatever. Like Wizards of the Coast has some sort of patent on that, and there are several court cases that I looked into, and Wizards of the Coast just always wins. And so if you're not a mega corporation that can afford to fight them in court or pay them, it's really hard to make your own card game. That's what I ran into. Hopefully this person doesn't have the same experience. I have to say I really do miss the dark feel that Yu-Gi-Oh used to have. That every duel was a battle for your very soul. Yeah, man. I mean, the game, it was really badass. It was dark, it was adult, it was mature, it was edgy, it was cool. Yeah. I have to disagree with this. He's talking about the anime. My points weren't really about the anime. My points were about the art of the cards, but he makes a good point here too. We have a conversation, but I just wanted to say you hit the nail on the head, so somebody that agrees with me. Personally, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards designs are still good, so somebody disagrees with me. It's different for sure, and yeah, the waifu lottery cards are kind of weird, so he kind of agrees with some of the things I said. Despite this, cool cards are certainly still printed. Yeah, man, there's still cool cards that come out for sure. And I didn't do the best job of saying that. Yeah, there's still some cool stuff that comes out. It's not all bad, but not everything's that extreme. I didn't feel like I needed to say that, but I guess I do. Worth saying at least once. Yeah, not everything that comes out is total shit. Some of the stuff that comes out is alright, And honestly, some of the older cards just look kind of ugly. Big disagree. I'm kidding. Yeah, some cards are, not all of them are great, right? Most of them are cool. Except Summon School. Yeah, I mean, but that's like peak. Like Summon School is like one of the coolest cards out there. The vast majority of them look cool, with a handful of them that don't. Overall, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has some weird card designs. It just has as many cool ones. I don't know. I think my take is that there are too many of them that aren't, and it doesn't have to be that way, And if you mix shit with grape juice and 50% of it is grape juice and 50% of it is shit, would you still drink it? Probably not. That's kind of my point. Doesn't mean it's all 100% shit. Some of it is grape juice. I guess that's what I was trying to say. But I don't disagree with anything he's saying. Excellent video. I checked this guy's channel out. He plays something called, I think, Domain. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Domain format. I checked it out. It looks really fun. The Domain format thing he was talking about on his videos. This format of play with, I think it's a format of play with 4 players. Check it out. I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it was cool. He seems like a really nice guy. Great video. All the points you made were valid, so this person agrees with me. Yeah, to this day, my favorite cards are Garamaja. Somebody that relates to my Catholic upbringing. As a trap tricks player, I agree. So this person plays trap tricks, and they agree with me. Still, I like the diversity. So they kind of agree, kind of disagree. The cutesy and waifu but overall, I would say the focus is too heavy on the cutesy and waifu stuff. Yes, it absolutely is. Is it all cutesy and waifu stuff? No. Is it a huge chunk of it is? Or dare I say the majority? Or almost, or half? Yeah, I recently returned to this game after decades. And a little bit of his story here. Yeah, somebody having a well-mannered, decent, respectful, and honest conversation. In other words, a gentleman, or what's the equivalent of a gentleman as a woman? The fuck, I don't even know. A respectful woman of sophisticated tastes, or a refined gentleman. one of those two, this person. Most cards stand a chance to have a good appeal and players aesthetically aren't too over-designed. Yeah, a lot of them are over-designed. They look generic. Most cards didn't even know what they're supposed to be. Yes, I'm saying a lot of them you can't even tell what they are because there's too much shit going on. They're over-designed. I personally miss the old occult Egyptian artwork of cards, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Still has the best art of all the TCGs. No, I think Flesh and Blood has better artwork, personally. But, again, we can disagree. Another respectful gentleman that's just given his opinion. Or a woman, I don't know. The art style is going through multiple phases, but I don't think the style is damaging overall. So, like, you see, like, the vast majority of these people, we're kind of going back and forth here. They're just, most people are great. Like, most people are just fine. Most people are just giving their take. They're engaging with the conversation. They're agreeing or disagreeing, or they feel mixed halfway about it, you know, and they're just having a good time, just enjoying the conversation. Like, I don't feel like I have to give my 2 cents on every single one of these. First of all, I have a job. I can't do that. I don't have the time. And I try. But other times, somebody's just making a statement. And, like, not everything needs to involve me, you know? Sometimes I feel like it's weird if I butt in and give my 2 cents because it's like, maybe you don't want to hear what I have to say. Maybe you want to interact with other people. Like, I personally appreciate the variety. Yep, so a person likes multiple things. I think that was the magic of you in the 90s. I agree with pretty much all that you said. This person is basically in my native language here, Portuguese, saying that he thinks the analysis is interesting. He doesn't see a lot of people discussing this specifically. He likes some of these archetypes, but he says that the points that I'm making are valid, basically. Another person that's nice, respectful, just stating their... A lot of the people, like, they come from my second channel, the Brazilian channel, so they know I speak Portuguese, or even from the video itself, I said I'm from Brazil, so they'll be commenting in Portuguese, and it's fine. We can have a conversation in Portuguese, too. I dig it. I can speak a little bit of Spanish, too. You want to comment in Spanish, go for it. I fully agree with this. However, I don't think the parents are as big of a factor anymore. Yeah, probably not as much anymore. Now they're more trying to pander, or appeal, I shouldn't say pander. They're appealing to the Japanese people. That's, yeah, I mean, that's probably valid. That's probably true. Aside from the PhD needed to decipher effects. Yeah, man, that's a big problem. I get your point, and I even agree to an extent, but I feel like some of the criticism comes from not knowing the archetypes. My friend, I know all the archetypes. I've been here for over 2 decades playing this shit every week. Trust me, I know the archetypes. Like, this point came up a lot. Like, you probably just don't know everything that's out there. I do. There's so many, like, I can't fit everything, every single card and every single example into one video. I was making a point, and I used things that helped support that point and the criticism that I was making. Is that fair? To an extent, no, because you're not showing everything, but I can't show 12,000 cards in one video. Like, go look at them and decide for yourself, and then you can agree or disagree. I obviously love the darker tone of all cards. There's some things I agree with, like having dual art style, but each generation brings a new art style. I think each new generation brings new themes. Maybe, I'm trying to think, like, GX was already pretty like anime looking, and after that, yeah, maybe he's right. I mean, maybe he's right. Maybe it's just been that in recent years it's leaned too much into the generic anime stuff, and up until like 5Ds it didn't as heavily. They were unique up until, sure, I mean, I'd have to give some thought to properly answer this. He might be correct. Having to play in the crypt thing again comes up. Gonna say context. I agree with you. Yu-Gi-Oh used to be evil. Yes, it used to be. Yu-Gi-Oh used to be evil. It did. Now it's not. I think having diverse decks are a good idea, aka the wife and kids decks. However, they are leaning way too into it. So a person halfway agrees. They're just going too hard on it, but they could have some of it. Sure. So I mean, the vast majority of these comments, that's the type of conversation we're having. And the disagreements are mostly perfectly valid. they're respectful, they're interesting, they're a good conversation. I learned a lot. I, I don't know how much I changed my perspective, but I've broadened my perspective for sure from some of these comments, and I enjoyed the conversation with the vast majority of you and the people that continue to comment, because this video is getting a lot of views. I guess this is I mean, I didn't make the video as the intention of, shit, this is a really small channel, right? I mean, anything I make doesn't get that many views. I started really making videos, like actually making videos, like 2 months ago. So I didn't expect this to have this big of a reception. I thought that my video was pretty like rambly and bad at times, but a lot of people wanted to have the conversation, so that was super cool. I enjoyed it. And I'm not even going to show you, none of them came up. Like, I'm not purposely filtering. I didn't remove any comments. Nobody's comment here got removed. If you made some fucked up insult and just made yourself look like an idiot, your comment is still up unless you deleted it. I did not delete anyone's comment or ban anyone from the channel. It just so happens that I haven't seen any of them here. But they're there, like, but that's what I'm saying, like, and I'm not even going to show them to you. I'm not going to go looking for the asshole, the mean-spirited comments, because there's such few. Most people are just having a good time. So that's my response here to most of the top comments here that we got. I'm sorry if I missed yours. Maybe I responded to you. I responded to the majority of comments. Like, if you look through the comments you left, there's a chance that I respond. Some people left like 6 comments. Like, come on, that's fine if you want to do that. I'll respond to 1 or 2 of them, but not every single one probably. I try to respond to most people. I'm still responding to some people. Sorry if I missed yours or there was a point here that I missed. The video's already pretty long. I try to address most things and keep it concise, and the video's already really, really long again, like way longer than the first one that I made. But again, I appreciate you. If you agreed with me, cool. We have the same viewpoint and idea, so there's not much to fight about. If you halfway agreed with me or you completely disagree with me and you left me a comment letting me know respectfully, like 99% of people did, I enjoyed having the conversation with you, and I appreciated having your perspective and you taking the time to broaden my horizons and engage in that discussion. Like, I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I appreciate you. I had a good time doing this, and I'm still having a good time reading some of the comments, even if some of the stuff is getting a little bit repetitive, because most people are not reading everyone's comments. They're just giving their take as if it's the first time that I'm seeing it, and I've already seen the same comment like 20 times, which it's fine. You don't have to read all the comments like I am. And for the 1% of people that just don't know how to behave like a normal human being and don't know how to have a normal conversation, like, don't expect me to respond to you, man. And if I do, like, just don't be surprised if I'm not nice and I'm not willing to have a normal conversation with you too. Like, I don't know, like, do most people comment on other YouTubers' channels and they just insult them and expect that they're gonna be nice back to them? Like, or do you expect that I'm just not gonna see it and I'm not gonna respond? Or like, what's the expectation with that? Are you just trying to start a fight? Because, man, like, we're discussing the artwork of a game. Because, like, we're discussing the artwork of a card game. Like, it's not that serious. Like, it's an interesting conversation to have, lightheartedly. It's a discussion. But, man, like, if you're getting mad, like genuinely pissed about this conversation and the video, and you're hate watching it and you're like insulting me in the comments, like, Jesus, dude, go like find other hobbies, man. Go find something else to do. Try some of the Zaza, man. Go grab a drink. Call your grandma. Like, man, like, is there like nothing better to do than just like hate watch a video? Maybe some people find that entertaining. I don't know. I just, like, I don't like arguing for the sake of arguing, and I enjoy a debate. I enjoy a discussion that is respectful and there's a mutual appreciation for each other's points, or even if there isn't, it's still like respectful enough. If it devolves into degeneracy, it devolves into insults, it devolves into just honestly like childish banter, at that point it's like, I don't know, man. Go do anything else with your life. Why are you wasting your time? I mean, honestly, it helps me because it's engagement for the video. If you want to leave 10 hate comments, leave 10 hate comments. It's good for me, but I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna respond, and if I do, I'm not gonna be nice, right? I mean, I don't know what some of these people expect. Like, I responded to some people, and I was rude back to them, and they were like so surprised that I didn't treat them well, or that I saying that I had a bad attitude. Like, dude, if you insult me, like if you disagree with me, great. If you insult me, like, what do you think is gonna happen? Like, if I do bother responding to you, like, I'm probably not gonna be nice, right? Like, in what world do you live? Anyway, thank you to the 99% of you who were cool as hell and had a good conversation. I appreciate you all. Hope you'll stick around for other discussions we'll have in the future.